Can hear me fine?
What's going on, everybody? Happy Black History Month, and today we got a really good one for you. But before we begin, if you haven't, please hit that like button below, subscribe to both channels, Moana Nui and Blerdography. And before we begin, I would like to introduce my co-host for this evening, who's right above me, Miss Joy Stevens. Let's take a moment for you. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. Thank you for asking. Glad to be here. Welcome, everybody. We're ready to get started. Welcome to the folks in the chat. I see you, EJ Leary, Marc, a few other people. Welcome to the group. And today's show is near and dear to all of our hearts because we're talking blurred stuff, like hardcore, what is it, all that kind of thing. So lock in because it's about to get real. But before we do that, since he passed the baton to me, introduce myself. My name is Joy Stevens. I'm co-host of not only of this podcast but of Vistory on the Moana Nui channel. One of the hosts of What You Watching on random Wednesday nights and Steel Sharp and Steel on Thursday nights on a different channel. But anyway, I'm going to go around the horn and allow everybody else to introduce themselves. And we're going to start this way with Dr. Dana Holmes.
Hey everybody, good evening. It's good to be here again. Marc, thank you for having me. My name is Dana Holmes. I am a cosplayer here in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. So this is Happy Black History Month, everybody, first and foremost. I'm sorry, forgive me for that. Yes.
Me too.
And yes, I'm excited to be here. We're going to have a live, great discussion, a whole bunch of topics. I can't wait to dive in.
All right. RJ.
Hello again. Happy Black History Month. I am RJ Atkinson. I'm the creator of the manga series, The Seventh Kingdom, also the owner of RPX Media Production, the company that's published it. And I am happy to be here with you lovely people again for another exciting discussion.
All right. I'm going continuing going on a clockwise direction. Hilton.
Yes, I'm Hilton George, reporting live from an undisclosed location until this lifts. I am the founder and CEO of BlerDCon and happy to see so many familiar faces here that are enjoying much warmer weather than us, but I'm happy to be a part of the team and happy to join the podcast.
Nice. And finally, last but definitely not least, Angie.
Hi, I'm the Supreme Attorney. Yes, I am a real attorney. Hi, RJ. Also, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, The Supreme Attorney. I talk about is your favorite anime character going to jail, and probably not, especially not Chow Tucker.
She likes to do that just to get under my skin.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that are already locked into the channels, be on the lookout in the coming months for new content under the title Chaos Twins between me and Angie. It's gonna be a ride, so look forward to that. But let's get into it. So, Marc, where do you want to start when it comes to the discussion around Blerd? What do you want to begin with?
Well, so Blerd itself, yeah, we know, we're getting there. But Blerd itself is such a new term that I find it funny that a lot of people still don't know that it means black nerd. Blerd means black nerd. It's only been around for about 10 so years. The first utterance of the word happened in the show called Scrubs. An actor named Donald Faison said it, and then since then, a man named Hilton George took it and made a whole convention around it. So I want to start there. What is blerd culture? And I want to start with Mr. Hilton George, since you made a whole con around it. Let's start with you. What is blerd culture?
I like to think of blerd culture as not just the fandoms, which can have a lot of different monikers like geek and that sort of stuff. I think blerd is more about the individual. It's more about the mixture and the representation through fandom that is unique to black nerds. We are so strong in cosplay and art and music and fashion and even in game development. and even in the way we express ourselves in our fandom, that, we're not just conforming to the fandom when it comes to cosplay or game dev or art. We are expressing that which is a part of our DNA, literally. Our blackness comes through in everything we do. And I think that's not relegated just to Blerd culture, but all black culture. And it didn't really have a name, just like you said. And it didn't really have that chest thumping badge that it is now 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but it was always there, right? And I think there's power in naming a thing and going on the evangelical mission, not just to promote a new convention about Blerd and Blerd culture, but to also let Blerds know that they are Blerds. And it's not optional. There's people who don't want to be called Blerds, but sorry, that's just who you are. And seeing the community come together, see the community grow, see the community crystallize from this perch as a convention runner and a steward of the community has been a unique and special journey, and it's ongoing.
Perfect. I couldn't have said it any better myself, but Dr. Dana Holmes, do you have anything you would like to add to that?
No, he's Hilton is right. I remember, oh man, Hilton, was it what, 2017? You started going around.
Pop when he said that.
Yeah.
2017, good Lord.
Yes.
Back when MTV was playing music videos, I remember.
Yeah.
What a play.
Yes. And yeah, Hilton is spot on. And yeah, it is, we have always existed within the greater ethos of being black in America. We were called geeks and nerds and weirdos, sometimes, in our families or, in our extended friend groups, we were the real, or like, I was going to school during a time when there was a show called Family Matters. And, all my friends, oh, you were Steve Urkel. I say, yep, I hang out in libraries. Mm-hmm. And when I was, yes, I did growing up in New York City. Yeah. Libraries, it was the first place that had internet, was the public library.
Dial-up.
Yes. Yeah. We had internet and because we couldn't afford it at home. It was back in the mid 90s. Yeah. But yeah, we've always existed. We're not this new thing that just popped out of nowhere. We've always been here.
I have a interesting follow-up question for you, because I think about, especially like right now out here in the hostile world, there's this discussion around people of different races, ethnicities, kind of building on the backs of what Black people have done for civil rights. Hold that thought. But I'm thinking about specifically the movie Revenge of the Nerds, because Blerd is Black nerd. But at one point, the word nerd was also a slur. And so do you think that without the majority in the United States reclaiming the word nerd, that you would have Black nerds? Or would we have kind of suffered in silence because there wasn't a larger group to kind of pave the way? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. So I actually thought about this and including this in this very show. You're right. Nerd was considered a derogatory term. Back in the day, I remember even in high school, back in 2004, 2005, being called a nerd and having distinguished myself between a nerd being someone who's more academically set, and then a geek who's more in the general fandom of like pop culture, that being a difference. But it's so funny that N-word nerd follows suit with how it became more acceptable, because we reclaimed it like another N-word that I won't bring up right now. But the culture reclaimed that word and made it something endearing in of itself. And now we have the terminology Blerd, combining Black and nerddom and wearing it as a badge of honor versus it being a slur.
Right. And that's not the first time we've done that, because before, you started with Yuppies, which was an acronym for Young Urban Professional, Yuppies, and then you had Buppies, which was the Cosby Show crowd, upperly mobile, affluent-ish middle to upper middle class. So yeah, every now and then we do have a chance to reverse Columbus some things from other cultures that we can use to our advantage. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
like
was thinking about that. Bleak would not have sounded as cool. Yeah,
right.
Blerd.
It doesn't sound as cool.
And
But
bleak is actually already a word because the outlook is bleak. You don't want to mix that up.
But and that brings me back to what Hilton was saying. Like there are black people who are nerdish who don't like being called blurred. My channel is called Blerdography, and I joke with everybody who calls themselves blurred, whatever, on social media. Like how how many times do you hear from other people who aren't black nerds? Why do you call yourself a blurred and segregate yourself in this subculture or whatever? And I just find it hilarious to me that even when we find a space for ourselves and an identity for ourselves, we have those people come in and chime in. You're just being racist because you call yourself a black this or a black that. I remember other big YouTubers coming out and saying like because they call themselves Black Nerd Comedy or whatever, that their audience would either get on them or they would lose audience because like certain people will feel like, oh, this is only for black people when it's for everybody. It's just a endearing term that we take for ourselves. So I find that hilarious.
That leads me to my next question, and I want everybody to weigh in on this because is it in the voice of Ken on stage? It's for black people anyway, So there are some things that we tend to say is for us, for the culture, by the culture, etc. And then there are things that we can share. How do you individually differentiate between something that should, I'm just going to say gate kept to keep it simple, something that we should gatekeep versus something that is more. So from Blerd, black, nerd, what is black and what is nerd? And there's an intersection, of course, in the middle. We talked about movies like Blank Man, Black Nerd right there. But what aspects of Blerd culture are specifically black culture? And then what aspects could be any nerd? Because we also are intersectional over there. Any ideas on that?
Well, I think if you go to any number of nerd conventions, that question will kind of start to answer itself. Because, well, first of all, if we step back to the core of something that you said earlier about how we lay a foundation for everybody. We do it in civil rights, we do it in art, we do it in music, we do it in food, we do it in everything we do. We bring a foundation that then gets adopted, co-opted, whatever term you want to use, into other cultures to kind of either legitimize or amplify or hype, certain things that, have been kind of co-signed or given their imprimatur by us, right? And with that being said,
I would say commoditized because they take our stuff and then they figure out how to make money off of it and exclude us from it. If they were just sharing in it, it wouldn't be no big deal. But they want to take it, kick us out, and then loot it up. Yeah.
But I think culturally and the way that people interact with fandom, they take their cues from us in black nerddom, in the same way that they do in all the other genres. I'll give you an example. So black nerds were the first people to ask for hip hop and R&B and this stuff in the parties that were happening at cons, just as an example. And for a long time, there was pushback on that. Majority white con owners are used to what they call the boots and pants music, raves. And we went out and we started doing our own parties. And this was concurrent with the onset of BlerDCon, so I won't take credit for that specifically. But you started to see white and Asian con goers populating the hip hop parties off post, off site. And you look at Sonic Boombox, you look at what's the otaku group that was out there doing their thing. You got all of these party promoters that were out here making hay, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you get a black DJ or a blurred DJ spinning on the main stage at some of these majority white or white-run conventions. And the idea was that somehow allowing for black people who are already a member of your coalition at your con, MomoCon, AwesomeCon, DragonCon, you name it, to be acknowledged or catered to would somehow alienate your white audience.
Yeah.
When in reality, white people are larger consumers of black culture than even black people are. So you start playing hip hop, the white people are buying more hip hop music than us. They singing
Yeah.
louder than we are. They having as much fun in the black spaces you create inside the white spaces than even the black people to whom which you are, kind of either paying homage or relenting in order to include. And I think that's the tumbler effect that you start to see. And it goes from everything from vendors, cosplay guests, panels and workshops that get accepted. And they see these packed rooms where the subject might be black hair and cosplay. And you're like, well, we didn't even know that there were this many people who cared about this subject because you never had a panel for this before, And so that domino effect of them saying, oh, the inclusion of what we have already seen be successful in black spaces, in white spaces, is becoming self-evident. So whether or not you care about black culture or black nerd culture, you are going to be forced or confronted with it, even in your majority white spaces or spaces that are not designated for us, because the con runners are seeing the financial ROI and the attendance ROI on having black cosplayers and black artists and black vendors and black creators in their spaces. So, I think we put our thumb on things, and that thumbprint turns it into gold, and it makes its way around. We don't always get to usher those things in and broker them and how they are digested, consumed, or represented, and to your earlier point. But we know. And we know that that is something to be guarded. It is something to be, protected. And as long as it is conveyed in a protected and safe way, we don't mind sharing. But we're still learning. We still have a little bit of the training wheels on the Blerd community and how we're growing out into other fandoms and other spaces. And this is one thing to keep an eye on.
But depending on what you just said, I'm going to bring that back. But I want to hear from RJ and Angie. What do y'all think?
This is all very much news to me because, believe it or not, and I think the more I reveal about my journey with all of this, the more people are a little bit shocked. Very much like how I didn't really read manga despite starting a manga series. I think that, honestly, I heard the phrase blurred when I first met you. And like throughout school, we were very quiet about like the fact that we like anime, because like the kids who liked anime in general would like Naruto run down the hall, and we didn't want to. They had a look, so we keep it quiet. You sit next to a kid, and if you see Pokemon, you just slide a note like you like the thing, and they're like, yeah, so
Like a speakeasy at school. You down?
yeah, it was so. I never really like being in this discourse is very eye-opening for me, but it's not entirely surprising because I mean, even what I am aware of, even what I looked at within K-pop, it's like you see the same cycle repeat over and over again. So I feel like, as was said before, when you make something that's so compelling and gripping that people want to copy and duplicate and run in and co-opt, it just means you're doing the right thing. It means that that's how influential you are. And they may copy, but they can never really copy the true essence of it. And so that is where that Black creativity, I think, will just forever continue on. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
And I think for me, like for Blerd, like just in the legal space, I call everybody a nerd. If you're a lawyer, you have to be a nerd. Otherwise, you can't pass the bar. You can't go to law school. So people are like, "Oh, you're such a nerd. Don't you want your lawyer to be a nerd?" But I always get into it with some attorneys because I say I'm a Blerd. They're like, "What's the difference?" I'm like, "There's a difference because there's some cultural part of criminal defense that I kind of understand that they might not understand." So yeah, they're just reading the law. They're like, okay, this is what it is. But I understand that maybe that community or that neighborhood, or maybe like, even though they're saying that's a cousin, it's not really a cousin. That's a cultural thing. So it's a little bit different, but they don't understand that. So it's nice to see other Blerds. So I don't have to explain what I'm feeling because they already know.
That's a good point. You know, they already know what you're feeling, like that assumption of shared experience just by, you know, if I walk into a con and I see two other Black cosplayers over there, I'm going to make the assumption that we have something in common. The same way I do at work. When I walk into the cafe and there's, you know, two other Black IT people over there, I'm like, oh, Marcus, you know, because I assume we're going to have some commonality just based on visual, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, so that's like, kind of almost like my safe space, and I can maybe talk about something a little bit more in depth as opposed to just black and white law. So,
Hmm.
yeah, for me, it's that.
So that's a great segue into another thing we wanted to talk about, the safe spaces that we have and are creating to be into nerdy things or geeky things, if you will. Hello. Um, without fear of, you know, I want to say without fear of like shaming or all that kind of stuff, but that does happen in some like blurred forums. We won't talk about some of the most egregious ones because y'all know who they are. But let's give a moment to introduce our most recent addition. Please say hello.
Evening, my apologies. Webster, the man of voice of fragrance.
Nice, short and sweet. What we're talking about right now is um, keeping or having safe spaces within like this nerdy community for Black people. So I want to just double layer thing. So one, having it, we love it, we like it, et cetera, et cetera. How has it been for you all finding kindred spirits from the same, diasporic background, African diaspora kindred spirits into like anime and cosplay and foreign things, et cetera, et cetera. How's that been for you? But then also, after we get through that, the happy part, I want to talk about the nonsense in the nerd community. But let's start with the good stuff.
Mm.
Like, what was it like? What has it been like for you to find community here?
Well, I'll start. Um, before there were like, Black nerd conventions, the nerd spaces, nerd cons were very okay. It's America, guys.
Yeah.
It's littered with racism and white supremacy. And we have the saying, the fly in the milk or something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it I remember I used to attend San Diego Comic-Con back in 1999 when I was stationed in San Diego in the Navy. It was literally like it wasn't what it was back then like it is now. And when I remember downtown San Diego, I was there in the convention center. I was just like, people were looking at me like, "Hey, why are you here?" I'm like,
Why are you here?
Yeah, they would not say it, but we know the looks.
Mhm.
Right.
We know the looks that them folks give, like the stares and the like the Cynthia Erivo meme, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, and I appreciate when BlerDCon first started. It was like, wait, it was just like, we can be who we are. We come as who, you know what I mean? We come as who we are. In those other nerd spaces, we still had the mask, Joy. You know what I'm talking about? The mask we all wear as Black people in this country dealing with white people.
Mal, we're not going to talk about her no more.
And so, but yeah, it's the safe space and that is the most important, because in those spaces we thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Creativity is abound.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, back in the 90s and in the early aughts, boy, it was few
Mm-hmm.
and far between.
Mm.
It's
I
been a
think,
growth process. I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
but I was just
Go
going to
ahead.
say
Go ahead.
it's been a mutual growth process because the convention was nascent, because it was uncharted territory. Going into this, yes, there were Black creator spaces. There were Black comic book days, and there were spaces that were happening in places like Harlem where you kind of had a default black population, and the blackness was kind of acknowledged in there, but the black nerddom was not as well defined. So figuring out what that space was going to ultimately develop into, we didn't really know. I'll be honest with you. We often had questions of like, how black is BlerDCon going to allow itself through the attendance and the community to be? Anecdote, in year one, we got an outreach from a sponsorship for a company in South Carolina that made pork rinds. And they wanted to send us boxes and boxes of pork rinds. And I said no, because I was like, we can't start BlerDCon dropping pork rinds on black people, who are new to this space, and it's a somewhat undefined community. I was like, if I overshoot and get too far ahead of the community, then we are the black president joke before Barack Obama was elected, right? It was kind of a lampooning effect. Since then, we've kind of let the community guide the way, and we find the places and the ways in which blackness, is expressed, and people are making their own experiences. But to Dana's point, we had spent so much time kind of having our blackness masked in white spaces that being in a place where you no longer had to wear that mask was new for a lot of people. And that meant something different to a lot of people. If you have an attendee who's coming from New York, that person is going to have a different, black expression, than someone coming from Sanford, North Carolina, where they might not have ever even seen another black cosplayer before. Right. So everybody coming together and finding a way to make this common ground, even within the black nerd community, had growing pains and, trying to figure out what the mix was going to be. And it's more defined now. And I think what has happened with BlerDCon is that you've got this 3.5 days of the year where it's kind of like an oasis. It's like an island. It's like a power-up. Like, there's people for whom which this is the only black space they have. And they come and they just suck up all the blackness and all the energy and all the empowerment, and then they've got to go spend the other 360 days of the year that aren't BlerDCon, kind of protecting that energy and connecting with that and like holding your breath underwater in a way.
It's
and
interesting.
That defines what we're doing.
It's that feeling that you're talking about. Like you see this like Spelman College sweatshirt, because I went there. And that is exactly what homecoming at HBCU was like. It's this oasis and freedom for a weekend. A little down low stuff happening over here in the corner. We ain't gonna talk about people in their marital affairs. But beyond that, it's a chance to see everybody, to remember what it was like to be surrounded by folks that expected greatness of you, to see people that could give you a run for your money on creativity and everything else. And then, like you said, you gotta get it as soon as you get on a plane, you're surrounded by not black people again. And you're like, ugh. I never want to go home. Mark.
I want to just piggyback off what Hilton just said. You are absolutely right. BlerDCon, I went to BlerDCon last year, and I told you it was like being in a space in America where I didn't have to think about my blackness. I could just exist as I am around everybody else who is as of me, and not have to worry about hiding my blackness or my nerdiness. I can just express myself. Literally, the first thing I thought about when I first stepped foot in BlerDCon and got like 3 hours into it was like, this is just mini Dragon Con that's just specifically for black people. It's what I wish Dragon Con could be to some degrees. I didn't think of BlerDCon as a black thing. I thought of it as just a thing that could exist. Like, oh my God, like going to Africa, I don't have to think about my race or my ethnicity or my place in this country type of scenario. I can just be. And that's why I'm going back this year, because I had to experience that again. I've not experienced that in any other convention. So you're absolutely right by that. But I want to say something else too. Usually I am the inclusionary person, and Joy, thank you for giving me this book for Christmas. Black AF history has been kind of reopening my mind to why we should kind of gatekeep some of our spaces, because every time we let everybody in, we lose those spaces, either through capitalism or through it being turned into a lake or being burnt down or bombed. So historically, just with our disposition in this country, I'm I have to say I'm team. We gotta protect and keep our black spaces. We can let some people in, but I'm gonna be honest. The meme on the internet, stop letting everybody in the cookout. Everybody don't need to come. That's for us.
There's no more cookout. We're done with the cookouts. But to your point, yeah, this is the same conversation that we've seen recently in the Asian community. Like, you know, that whole blow up around H Mart, and a lot of black people was like, I'm just sitting here in the comments eating popcorn because we've been trying to tell y'all about 15 years to watch out for them because they're gonna come for your stuff. I just posted earlier, for those of you that follow me, I'm Joyride08 on Threads, and I just posted a reel from this young man who was talking about the gentrification of the palate. And he talked about how snails and escargot, caviar, and lobster used to be things that were thrown away. Nobody wanted them. Like, it was actually like a contract for porters. You couldn't feed them lobster more than 3 times a week because it was a trash food. But when people discovered the flavors you could get out of it, the richness of it, like the idea of umami, if you will, with caviar, etc. Now, you know, you put some garlic and butter on snails and they $20 a plate, right? As an appetizer, because they like it. They tried to gentrify collard greens not too long ago, just putting roasted pecans in. What the hell is wrong with you? You know, so yeah, as EJ said, lobster used to be slave food because it was the cockroach of the sea. Now lobster is $27 a pound because they bring it in. They bring it in. It's similar to gentrifying neighborhoods. They make it too expensive for the people that invented it to keep using it. Right now, can't none of us afford oxtails, even though it ain't nothing but the tail of a cow or whatever it is.
Don't get me started on oxtails. Jesus
Right.
I don't blame oxtails on white people. I kind of not trying to blame the whole culture, but Vietnamese people. I love pho. I love a lot of their food. Korean culture is starting to creep in a lot now. I think the prices of those things that were traditionally black here in America, because other cultures use them and those cultures' identities are being more prevalent in America, which is a good thing. White culture is taking that and those prices are going up because of that, not because they're now trying to take black culture. Asian culture is now being stolen beneath their eyes, and they don't really realize it either.
That's what I meant about the H Mart conversation. Right. Yeah, oxtail, to your point, oxtail is in a lot of pho, it's just used for bone broth, right? They ain't really trying to eat that meat. They just, you know, get it in there, get a little flavor, whatever. But the price keeps going up because the consumer majority have discovered that it's good and they want some. And but I don't want to spend too much time on this. But I also want to talk about, as I mentioned before, I want to find out, is anybody else that wants to talk about their experiences of having safe space? Yes, Webster.
Good evening, everyone. I would say my experience, I would say for me, is somewhat unique compared to a lot of my contemporaries and conversations I've had over the years. Growing up in Baltimore City, as a kid, I had to sort of mute my blerdom and not my blackness. So I was because of my interests, I was always that other kid. And ultimately, going to a white Catholic school for high school, it allowed me to express the blerdiness because those of us like myself, it was like easier to find each other. So I had a collective, I had a group, had a small little group of inclusion there. But then that prompted me to be able to really expand everything going to an HBCU. And I'm a graduate of Maryland Eastern Shore twice over. And especially during that time, late 90s, early 2000s, especially for, I say a lot of us black men with Toonami, Adult Swim, a lot of those properties that really became ubiquitous with when it comes to like anime, like Dragon Ball Z. Everybody was in the Dragon Ball Z back then. It became a lot more palatable for people to get into anime. So people like myself who were in the racks of Suncoast in the mid to late 90s, buying VHS tapes, training tapes with friends, getting fan sub copies of DBZ back in high school, it became a lot easier to expand that blerdness and so to speak. And with BlerDCon specifically, I've gone since pretty much every year except for the first year, and it is so much like homecoming. And Mark, I think I talked to you like before you went and telling you what it was like, and it's the one con every year that I have to go to because it not just homecoming, the aspect of it feels like it, but no, there are people I've gone to school with, I have grown up with, I have worked with my professional life, like, hey, how you doing? You know, it's such a melting pot of black nerddom. And I can't say I've been to any other con to sort of go with that. Atlantic Con is similar as well. but it's just such a wonderful experience to really like kind of just check everything out the door, be with family, enjoy your various fandoms, and then after 3.5 days you go back home to real life.
Now I want to go out to the women and ask their opinion about safe spaces, etc. And then we're going to switch and come start with the women and work backwards. So, Supreme Attorney RJ, what is your take on the need and the benefits of a safe space?
I mean, I like having a safe space because, like, there are certain things that might make me feel uncomfortable that I know if Marc is with me or somebody else of color is with me, they're gonna know that's a trigger. We gotta make sure she's protected. But I know if I'm around other people, it'll just go right through them, and I have to fight for myself, fight for my people. Like, it's just overwhelming. And sometimes it's nice just to just chill. So I need a safe space.
Yeah, sometimes even if you're not fighting at the moment, just have somebody else who'll be like, "You see this, right?"
Yeah.
And know that they get it too.
Yeah, like I know me and my neighbor just went to go see Wicked, and that's the first time I saw Wicked with somebody of color. And both of us at the same time had the same type of reaction, but we didn't know how to say it. And it was nice that we both knew that there was something that we didn't like, but we didn't have to try to over explain it to each other because we just knew it was that feeling.
Right. What if I'm curious for a tangent? What was it? What was the situation? What was the instance?
Just the whole white savior thing. And you can never do it by yourself, and how the animals were towards her, and it's like, of course, an animal, but like her, like she's like, I don't know, it's just it was just something that we were just like, she was really preachy, and it just wasn't. It was just a feeling. There was just something missing.
I feel you. I know exactly what you mean. We'll talk more about that offline.
No
But
turmeric
RJ,
in the greens. You know it. You know when the paprika ain't in the greens. You ain't got to say it. You just know.
So this is interesting for me. I believe that first start by saying that safe spaces are essential, and I say this because coming from framing this, I don't know if anyone else here has a cultural background of having like Caribbean family, being Jamaican American, first generation American. I personally saw what it was like, for example, to go to a place like Jamaica, where everyone looks like you, everyone talks like you. There's a shared understanding, a shared cultural context. Even if everyone's identity is a bit different, there is that sense that you feel that complete sense of belonging. And I've seen the pride and the confidence and the social impact that has on people. There's no such thing as I can't do it. It's more like, oh, I'm going to do it better than you. And if you feel upset, oh, well. And I mean, that you can call that a personality thing, you can call it a cultural thing, but I've seen that is like prominent sometimes in Jamaicans because they've had that incubator, so to speak, of an island, right? And now granted, this whole England and all other kind of things. But I'm saying that to say that having seen that, and then seeing how in America, how hard it has been to be able to cultivate that kind of space, and coming to understand that, you have to understand. For me, like I was born here, but I grew up in Germany. My first memories of childhood were like on a military base around people who looked nothing like me, and I never really grew up with that sense of like, oh, they don't look like me, I have to wear a mask type of thing. I actually didn't have that. And I did not have it until I came to America. And I had a little girl say to me, you'll never be as pretty as me because your skin is darker than mine and your hair is not straight. That was in 3rd grade that a girl said that to me. And as a kid, I didn't register what I even heard because I was like, wait, what? Because my friend from the Czech Republic in Germany never said that to me. And my white friend from Kentucky in Germany never said that to me. So I realized there was something very specific about being like here.
It's the disease of America.
Yes, which is ironic because of German history, right?
But Germans tried it for like a decade and was like, this is bullshit. And then America's like, no, you should try it again. Check us out. But we're not going to be on that tonight. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. But like I say all that to say, like, I think I experienced like that sense of having to mask through the nerddom, like with anime, and being able to find other Black people who could relate to, I would maybe say like an alternative presentation of Blackness, because I also then went to like a school where I was criticized constantly because I didn't talk a certain way and look a certain way. They made it abundantly clear to me that I was not American, which is funny, again, because I was born here and I didn't belong because I just came off different. And it being in the nerddom, finding other Black nerds was a moment where you kind of felt like, oh, yeah, you're interested in this other thing too. And like it was very much a sense of you were not alienated or isolated, and the extent to which that extends the benefits, like words don't fully encapsulate what that does for an individual. So
It's a candle in the darkness.
mhm.
Mm-hmm. That's the way I like to put it. Like if you somebody else out there in a sea of nothingness, and then you see that light in another person, and you absolutely have to run towards it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And then y'all keep each other warm.
Exactly.
That's
That's what I think.
So, okay, we're going to get into something a little ugly now.
Oh,
And like I
yeah.
said, I wanted to go out to the women, and I want to start with women and come back. Within blerd culture, there's still some issues, specifically the things that I've seen, noticed, been victim to, et cetera, et cetera. Body shaming, colorism, misogyny, homophobia, all the other things. We can be collectively, as a diasporic group, just as bad as the people that we say oppress us. And so what? No, we're not going to talk about CRT and how, no, that is another show. So good luck with that. But if you want to talk to me about it, I do that for a living. So feel free to come to one of my webinars. But I do want to talk about how we can sometimes be our own worst enemy. You know, you mentioned coming from like having that sense of there's no fear of being accomplished. There's no fear. There's an encouragement to be the best that you can be. And if you're not good as me, you need to get better. I got that same feeling at Spelman. And I think that a lot of HBCUs, if not all HBCUs, are small microcosms of that feeling of I belong here, I am accepted here, etc. Mm-hmm. Somehow, though, when we get into like nerdy spaces, specifically like Black nerd spaces, and women come into the room, women, non-binary, any LGBTQ come into the room, there's this animosity, there's this resistance to belonging. And I wanted to just know from anyone that nobody has to talk if they don't want to, but if anybody has something they want to bring up as this is still a problem, I'm looking to hear from you.
I mean, with being, my problem is, of course, being a lawyer, being a Black attorney, being a Black woman attorney. So there are certain things that I'm like, okay, I know this is the law. This is what the penalty is. I'll tell a client something like, hey, this is the law. This is what the penalty is. They'll go, no, you're wrong. What? And then I have to fight with somebody who more than likely is a high school dropout about the law and what they're facing based on their background because they know so-and-so told them this. And I have to fight them down, and I'm trying to save you. Meanwhile, I can send my counterpart in there who doesn't look like me, that is a white male, no argument, not a peep. They just sit there and go, thank you so much, sir.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, a lot of Black people have white supremacist tendencies.
All the time. And it's usually the clients that look like me that give me the hardest time. Whenever it's a client that doesn't look like me, they go, oh, you look young. You must be really smart. And they just go, you know, I'm in safe hands. People that look like me, no, we're our worst critics.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to talk about? Go ahead.
I've had a mixed bag, but I've definitely caught those type. And I mean, vendor events, and even some experiences. I mean, like with customers and even with some of the other creatives. Not naming any names, I instantly you don't always say a full sentence to it, but you know when they like look at the art style and they like what they see, then they look up and they see me and instantly just walk away. I've seen that plenty of times. I'm like, okay, cool. Because as soon as they walk away, someone else comes up and they buy, and it's like, all right, no love lost. But I've seen that. I even had someone who asked for a refund one time because she was upset with the shipping process. And the first thing she said was she wrote a big paragraph about how she's very disappointed and she doesn't like to support Black businesses because we can be so disappointing and we can be. And the fact that the email started with that told me that her problem was not with me, but probably internal projection here. She had some other problems, and she was putting that all onto me. And I said, again, here, take your refund, and that's it. Out of 200 pre-orders is the only refund I've had. And then I've seen some other creatives who kind of are like, why are you here? Is the vibe that you get when they address you. They kind of come over, they try to buy your stuff, and they open it, and they're like, oh, this is all you have? I've gotten some like diminishing comments. I even had someone in my inbox just the other day kind of saying, oh, it's interesting seeing a female author. And I'm like, it should be no different than seeing a male. Take care now. I've definitely got it. And I've just kind of learned to laugh it off. And if anything, find a way to make them uncomfortable. I don't know. I've turned it into a game, but it definitely needs to change.
Yeah.
I find it
I would say
so fascinating that in the year of our Lord 2026, even in nerdy spaces, women, not just Black women, but women still have a hard time trying to get in the niche of just being recognized as a nerd. And I will never understand that when women have been nerdy and been there this whole time, and just cis white men, even Black men, just will not accept that women can be nerds. Because I guess from my perspective, growing up, nerding was always a male-dominated thing, and just women never had interest in it, which was not the case. It was how it was being presented and how I was being presented as a nerd growing up in high school, being 14, 15, making fart jokes. Of course, no woman wants to be around someone like that. But as I got older, and I'm like going to cons and stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, there's so many women in nerdom. Why? Where have y'all been? And the fact that y'all still get this type of backlash is mind-boggling. Like, I don't understand how in the year of our Lord 2026 we still have to deal with homophobia within the Black community, given all of American history. But I'm just leave it at that.
So we gonna table that discussion around. Go ahead.
Big
I
one.
definitely want to just. This is not that complicated, a foundational concept for everyone who said something along these lines is ringing in my ears. Is that white supremacy makes everybody hate Black people. Everybody, Black people, white people, Asian people, everybody's consuming the same negative stereotypes, the lack of education in our public schools. All of this is something that we're all subject to, right? Just in the same way that, the male patriarchy makes everybody hate women. It has that effect. Now, you can resist it, right? Someone has to be actively anti-misogynist in order to stand still in the face of the current. Someone has to be anti-racist in order to stand still in the face of the current. And we in the Black community, I just want to make these 2 points. We in the Black community have our own internal conversations we need to have, right?
Facts.
And it's not something specific to the Black nerd community. Black community has got its own issues with homophobia, misogyny, domestic violence, all of these things that we have to work out in-house, right? And these are things to Joy's earlier point of like, what are the things that we gatekeep? That discussion is an in-house discussion. There shouldn't be anybody in a discussion to talk about why Black men are not supporting Black women, or why, Black community is not embracing our LGBT brothers and sisters that are among us. Like, that is an internal conversation that we have to solve. Nobody can solve it for us. And that gatekeeping, I think, is appropriate, and everybody should understand it. The things that we decide to share should be the things that we choose to share. Our art, our music, all of those things. As long as the context is there, when you have a Black artist who is sitting behind a table, or Robbie is sitting here with a book that she wrote, and you have this conversation with the actual author. This is not something that's sitting on a shelf in Barnes and Nobles being spoon-fed to you by a white woman that doesn't know the author, right? The author is right there. This is an exchange of not just the creative product, but the creator. Because we as Black people have some very particular things. We need stories behind everything we do. If I asked Marc about that jacket he's got on right now, he's not going to sit here, well, it's made of twill with a nice polyurethane blend. No, he's going to be like, I know this guy who is based out in Smyrna, and he's got this shop, and he started 2 years ago, and there's the story behind the relationship that we have to our art, our products, our businesses is different from everybody else, right? I mean, we're still buying Uncle Ben. There's no Uncle Ben making rice. We know that. There's no Aunt
No, Aunt
Jemima
Jemima,
making
yeah.
pancakes. But there's a black face. You know that black woman's not making Popeye's chicken. We know that, right? but
it's
our
comforting.
relationship to the things that we support and the people behind it are the key to the healing, right? You know, and until we expose ourselves, which is another issue, until we expose ourselves to all of the diversity, even within the black community, and resolve all of those issues and all of that, you know, external force that are pushing us in these directions that are forcing us to hate or marginalize one another even within the community, we're always going to have that problem, no matter what niche community within the black space we're going to have. And so we have that work to do. And, you know, we have to make deliberate efforts and deliberate steps to make that ball move forward every day.
Yes. Yes, Malachi, I do remember. Me and Mal, you know what? I'm actually going to end up talking about this in a second around
Yeah, please
supporting.
enlighten us, because I would love to know about some fried chicken stops.
So,
Did this podcast just get a little blacker? I think my screen dimmed from everybody.
you
went like
know
that
what?
shade
Your
darker.
screen actually did dim. I did notice
Oh,
that.
wait.
We did get it just a
The
little more
blackness
blacker, a
came-
little more dark.
What Dave Chappelle, darkness is spreading.
Dark.
Darknesses.
I'm not gonna get, because Mal is over here being a mess. I'm not gonna talk about that right now. But I will talk about how Malachi and I know each other. So
I'll ask in
way
the
back
comments.
in the beginning of Facebook or whatever, I was still working in corporate America. I was already approaching auntie status. I had loot. And so one of the good things about being in my 50s and still being a huge Blerd is I got money to do what I want to do. And Malachi was trying to republish his first book. And he was sending out, like, we were in a couple of forums together, and he was asking people to support his, it was either a Kickstarter or a GoFundMe. I think it was Kickstarter, when Kickstarter was like a new thing. And I was like, I got money here. And we've been friends ever since. He put me in his second book. So he has a character named after me, because I was that level. If I got a chance, if you tell me if I pay enough money, I will be in your art, I will absolutely give you that money. I'm going to be in Lion of Mali whenever they do that, because I gave them a bunch of money. But anyway, my point is, when we talk about supporting small businesses, we talk about supporting each other, there's like the financial and I say web influence support, reposting things, sharing things, etc. But then there's an emotional support individually. Like, I consider this community, the people on screen here, a different type of support. And we support each other. Sometimes it's tough love. I know I'll be giving Marc a hard time sometimes. Like his own mama, be all in his business. But then there's the financial stuff. So from a support standpoint, let me ask, what would you like to see more of outside? Because I get what you're saying, RJ, about this is why I don't support Black business. They will steadily go to Walmart or Amazon or what have you, and never complain about the fact that Amazon promises overnight shipping and you get that shit 3 days later. They don't never complain about that. But the minute you use the exact same shipping company and there's a delay, see, this is why I don't work with Black business. I get that. I get that part. What would you all like to see more of when it comes to support for each other in Blerd spaces? I'm going to say let's all first recognize losing the phobias and the isms.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, because we know that's a problem, but beyond that, what else would you like to see?
Grace.
Yes, grace.
That's
Grace.
the biggest one right
Exactly.
there
Yes.
is grace.
Yes, that is the biggest hurdle, because whenever you attach Black something to a thing, you know, unfortunately, we as Black people in America, we have this, you know, we got to be twice as good as half, you know, we need perfection out of the gate.
And
No.
perfection is stressful.
Yes. Organizing a con, starting a con, doing all the contracts and all the yeoman work, the administrative work behind the scenes that we as attendees do not see is is a Herculean effort. You know,
Somebody here makes that look kind of effortless and easy.
Let me tell you something. I appreciate.
You see these gray hairs.
Yeah, I appreciate BlerDCon being a winter con now, because when it was in the summer, well, we've had stories.
The AC.
Bruh. Dude, I would get to the Hyatt
I knew
on
we were getting there.
Thursday.
I knew it was
The
coming.
Hyatt, I'll get the Hyatt on Thursday. It was cool. It was easy. But Friday to start at 12:01, the AC units in the Hyatt were just like, you know what? Yeah, no.
Not the racist AC units.
Yes, yes,
No.
Joy, yes. Oh my God, yes.
Well, you know, if it was a white con, it wouldn't have happened. Duh.
Right.
But no, I'm glad you brought that up, especially the AC, because I remember there were so many criticisms while there. Like Hilton had control over the AC. Like, it's just like a black con. I'm like, he has no control of this. Organizers have no control of it. Look, it is what it is. We make the best of it, and we had fun. But those are sort of things we talk about, Grace, that we have to understand. If this was another venue, another con, those same complaints would not be attributed to the actual con organizers. And that's what we have to give ourselves grace. And that's a great example, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Hilton.
Yeah,
thank you for bringing that up.
I think when it comes down to supporting black business, we, in a way, and I want to be very careful how I word this, we, in a way, were spoiled by the segregation era. That we did not have to think about supporting black business because we had no choice. And you had one butcher, you had one barber, you had one, roofer,
one dentist,
one landscaper, you had one dentist, and so knowing that there was a shared struggle for resources in these segregated black communities, you knew your dentist is not going to have the most up-to-date drill or the best chairs or we all kind of accepted that we were working and doing the best with what we had. And we never had to tear each other down, even under the moniker of critique or being honest or all of these things that you see on Yelp and in comment sections and things like that. So when we start to talk about supporting black business today with the generation that is contemporary to us now, there's a training and a deliberate awareness campaign that needs to happen. And it can be 100 different forums in which it can take place. But, whenever I talk to people about food services, right? I went to this soul food restaurant and XYZ wasn't right. I'm never going blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, well, let's just think about it. Let's unpack this for a second. If it's a new business or this, like if you want this business to grow, if you want this business to be here, if you want it to survive, you have to kind of stand a little bit, right? Because I remember when the campaign leading up to Black Panther, the movie, I told everybody that was listening to me, I don't care if I go into the movie and the trailer starts and the credits start rolling and then the theater goes dark for 2 hours. I'm walking out saying that Black Panther was the greatest movie I've ever seen and everybody need to get a ticket. I'm standing for this movie because I wanted to succeed. Now, luckily, I didn't have to do that because it was that good. But that's the position that I like to take with supporting of black business, black artists, black initiative, black community, because I know that we're starting 2, 3, 4 steps behind. And I know that those first few steps, there's going to be some stumbles. We're going to hit some potholes. And if all you see is, well, that business over there, that white con in year one had 25,000 people. Why can't this con over here do the same thing? I was like, well, they had Crunchyroll, they had Viz Media, they had Netflix, they had Hulu, pumping thousands and thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars in, and all of this, that, and the third. These folks are grassroots, So it does kind of go into the grace thing, but we just don't have the muscle memory we think we do when it comes down to supporting one another. Yeah. And then we come off in a mean way, or we end up being destructive in our criticism and not constructive. But it's not always because we're mean or we're trying to be that. We just don't know any better, and we sometimes need to be sat down and be like, hey, this is how we need to go about supporting our stuff. And it's happening a little, but maybe not enough.
And sometimes it is a delivery too,
Mhm.
and how you deliver it. Because I will never down somebody of color in front of mixed company ever.
Mm-hmm.
I might go to you one on one, but I would never say it in front of a mixed company.
Mm-hmm. I would also say like
Mhm.
there's two things I'm going to touch on, and then I want to move on to something else. One is as a small business consultant and as a foodie, I have offered advice in real time to restaurant managers. Let me speak to your manager. I'm not even going to talk to the waiter. Come here, let me talk to you real quick. This is what happened. This is going on. Here's what you need to do, and been met with thank you for that. Okay. And then when your restaurants close down, because this is Atlanta, we can get food, right? That's the most precarious thing you can open in Atlanta is a restaurant and have it not do well. And I'm trying to help you, and you're not listening. And that I think is one of the things where not only do we need to give each other grace, but also a little. I'm not saying respect your elders. I'm just saying recognize when somebody's trying to put you on game and accept the help. Now, that being said, I also think that there is a level, and somebody in the comments, EJ, was like, was affirmative action good or bad for us? So, fun fact,
Was it for us?
it was never meant to be. They didn't really want desegregation. They really wanted separate and equal. And the threat was supposed to be give us better schools, better books, better supplies, or we will come into your schools and learn with you. And somehow that got conflated with, I will say that I think some of the lawyers that were involved with that at the time were kind of wanting to be in white society, and they pushed for it. Next thing you know, they're desegregating schools. And what happened? They sent all the black kids into these white schools where they were treated like criminals, and they fired all the black teachers, right? Because they couldn't go into the black schools, into the white schools. And now that began the school to prison pipeline. So it was a mess for all of us, but also it started indoctrinating our children with this idea that black wasn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you see here 2 or 3 generations later, this is why I don't deal with black businesses, blah, 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 because they were taught that by environment, not necessarily by their parents saying anything, but by the environment of, it's just not good enough, being label conscious, wanting to shop at Macy's instead of, Bologna's dry goods store, that kind of thing. And we're still fighting that to this day. So, yeah, but I do want to jump to something else because I've had Paul James in the background, our producer, waiting with this slide forever. But I do want to talk about, we mentioned several times how we influence things. And I'm going to show a clip. Forgive the subject matter because I don't rock. I wasn't ready.
You are now.
Right.
I don't rock with JK, but aside from her, I think this is a great example of how Black people come into some nerd stuff and just add their own little flavor to it. And I saw these videos all over the place, and I want to talk about how this happens in a minute. Now roll the clip.
We can go catch lucky. Yeah. There ain't no bees up in here. Yeah. I'm gonna run them galleons, man. They should go run them galleons. Hey, run them. Oh, out there, we ain't know y'all was coming like that, guys. Keep it up. Yeah. Where your wand at? Oh, she already got it out. She already got it out, man. She already got it out. We good. All right, go ahead. Get us out. All right, Miss Catherine, we sorry. Get up in there, yeah. Where your wand at? Hey. Hey, where you pull that from? You gonna outplay. All right, say no more. We go, okay, we go. We outside. Get on the ass.
She stole that drink.
Yeah. Hold on, time out. Oh, she got it on. The cake though. Hold on, she got already strapped out. We out, guys. Got it out, we out. Yes.
These are the worst criminals.
Yeah, where you want it? Wait a minute. Hold on, time out. I say no more. Okay, we out. Okay, you like that in tasty eats? Okay. Who? Me. Let's see who.
All right.
Whole crew from Ravenclaw.
I want to say something about that because that's so hilarious. I think Black people in this country have struggled so much that we just want wonder and whimsy so badly. Like we just want to like be normal. Like I want to go out in the field and frolic. I've never frolicked in my life. I'm almost 39 years old, and I've never just frolicked
I'll
because.
frolic with you. We'll find a field.
But
You
we
ain't got
can't.
but a couple more years to be frolicking, bro. You better get it in.
Right. Those because your knees could be like, bro.
They're already doing that now. But like, I remember when this was going around on TikTok. I remember when people were like the HBCU Hogwarts, and I was so disappointed.
Yes.
They got ceased and deceased from doing that. I'm like, that was such a hidden $1 billion opportunity right there for J.K.
Right. All he had to do was put one like base bump in that game that you could mod your broom with. Think we wouldn't have paid real cash money for that? Because we would have, right?
Yes.
Yo, you got them things on your broom, bro. But so this is an example of how we take something that is existing and make it just a little spicier.
We make
Little
things more
jazzier.
fun.
A little
And
more
better.
fun. Mhm. But to your point, Mark, we went hard with HBCUs at Hogwarts. I remember they had strolls. There's a comedian, It's Mel Mitch. And she was like a Hogwarts teacher. Then she was getting the girls together for stroll practice with Ravenclaw. She's like, "Don't be coming in here like this." It was hilarious because it was so accurate to like Black sorority life. And I know from whence I speak because I'm a Delta. So I was like, "Ooh, I remember them days. It was great." But so that when we talk about being a blerd, that is some Black nerd stuff right there. Because white people wouldn't get it. Okay, A5.
Okay.
Right? Other people of color wouldn't necessarily get it. Although, you know what? Speaking of A5, I got a bone to pick with y'all real quick. Because every time I see somebody outside our particular sorority and fraternity, the Divine Nine culture, they be steady. I was like, what alpha is teaching them these steps? Get your people.
Somebody,
It's always
got a
alpha.
boyfriend who plays grad and and that's how it happened, I guess. But I wanted to say that this whole idea of Black joy is a tough pill for America to parse. You know, the interpretation of and the digestion that this country has when watching us enjoy ourselves with ourselves is a constant struggle. Because you want to talk about a gatekeeping. There's nothing more gatekeeping than the electric slide. There's nothing more gatekeeping than bid whist. There's nothing more gatekeeping than dominoes. If you don't know how to play these games, and you don't learn this in school, you didn't subscribe to a podcast. Somebody Black in your life taught you how to play spades and taught you how to play dominoes. And watching us play and cuss at each other and be all aggressive, is something that is innate in our cultural experience. It hits us in the 23andMe in a very particular way. And when observed from the outside, people are like, "Oh my God, they're gonna fight," and I'm like, "Yeah, but they're not gonna fight, right?" We know the difference, and we're often not allowed to be in spaces enjoying ourselves. You go somewhere and you start playing your music as loud or lower than anybody else around you. If you're not playing the music that the people in that area like, it's too loud, and the cops get called. Right. We have a cookout on our lawn, and the neighbors, no matter how quiet you are, whatever, somebody always making a noise complaint. And that is an example of something that is beautiful to watch. But in my heart of hearts, I know that if this were truly a spontaneous thing happening outside of an Atlanta or New York or there would probably be a police interaction at some point in the video where the cops are like, "Put the wand down, sir." Drop the wand.
Right.
Like,
they very much planned all of that because
Yeah.
otherwise there's no way. Right.
And then you guys come see
and
me,
that's us.
and then it's always, "Oh, but so and so did it." I know, but you're Black.
You
And they're
can't
like,
do that.
"That's not a reason." Like, it is a
I didn't even
reason.
say Expelliarmus. It's not a dangerous spell. Wow.
Right. It's like, and I get it. And they're like, "Well, okay, we'll get the charges dropped."
So we'll see what happens. I actually submitted a panel idea to Dragon Con for the digital media track to teach spades. At Dragon Con this year, we'll see. Because it is one of the things where me being old and knowing how to play spades, I have seen people. Again, we talk about the bullying within our community. I've seen people bully younger Black folks for not knowing how to play. And I'm like, why don't you just teach them? But they have no patience, or they get off on the bullying. That's a whole nother story. Miserable. I said this to somebody else. Misery not only loves company, it needs an audience. And so because they don't like their life, they got to make sure they don't like you, or they wish you didn't like your life. So they try to steal your joy, take your happiness, tell you that you're wrong for smiling, bite me. Miss me with that nonsense.
And Hilton, you just described gentrification in a nutshell. That's exactly what you just described. That's exactly what you described. Gentrification. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Now, so I want to piggyback off some of the comments and things that were said. So as much as Black people are into nerddom, it doesn't necessarily seem like nerddom is into us. And I say that because I'm a gamer, I'm into certain things, and let me just say it like this. I've always wondered why there's never been like a Pokemon game or a Pokemon region that was set in Africa. It's always America or Europe or Asia. I always wondered why we can have anime set in Africa or more stories about African Americans. Even in the MLK episode, I wanted to talk about his message in sci-fi. Every single sci-fi, whether it's like Star Trek, especially Star Trek, but like Star Wars, Orville, those franchises and IPs complete his message more than our reality, but also those same franchises and IPs only have like one or two Black people in them. So it's always like nerddom accepts certain aspects of Black culture without making us a permanent part of Black culture. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about just TV, film, and just the things that is blurred culture within those things, and our, I guess, struggles when it comes to just being represented in the media that we consume.
I think what you just said is that struggle part of it, because living in America, being Black American, everything is against us. So I think Joy said it at one point at another podcast where we were like, you can't make us happy. So if you see us in Africa, we're gonna be like, well, we wouldn't know that because we were slaves. Like, we don't know that. That's too far removed from us. Like,
try drawing a Black character and just put it on the internet and see what happens.
Yeah, like her lips are too big, her lips are too small, her butt is too big, too small. Like, it's always
She's
going
too light, she's too dark. Why is the hair this curl texture? It should be straight. Is that a wig? Why she got a wig?
Right.
Yeah,
why does she sound like that? She doesn't sound Black enough. Like, why is she living there? That doesn't make sense. Like, we're just, it's not that we're never happy. It's just we were born with all this trauma that we're still trying to deal with.
The internalized racism is real, insidious, and unconscious. And it's that combination that has people feeling like, well, why she got to look like that? Because if she don't look exactly like you, then she looks wrong. Or she might look exactly like you, and that's what's wrong because you don't like the way you look.
Right? Internalized anti-Blackness. Internalized anti-Blackness.
Why she got that nappy hair? Why are you still using the word nappy in 2026?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot to deal with. I think we were talking about why Disney never did a Black princess. And Tiana kind of counts, but also was a frog most of the time.
Yes,
because what I mentioned there is like when you have to show like fear on a Black face looks very much like a menstrual face. And it's very hard to ride that line. If I'm like, and you take that as a still shot, outside the movie Get Out, that has never worked. It always looks buffoonish because that's the way we were portrayed by white people for so long when cinema was first taken off, and we still carry scars from that. We don't want to look like that, but we also want to look real, and there's no in between, right?
Well, I think the idea of messaging, to Mark's point, is kind of where these messages are coming through in sci-fi more so than, biographical history or documentaries or, straight factual news reporting. It is because the culture in general, and I mean like, white American Western culture, will only accept messages, visual and, written plot, messages, a script that embodies messages, like Dr. King's, or envisions a world that may be considered dystopian from a racial or gender perspective. If it's in a world separate from ours, oh, this is in a galaxy far, far away. Okay, I'll watch that because that's not next to me. A interspecies couple in a Marvel movie is more acceptable than an interracial couple on a Lifetime movie. You see what I'm saying? Like, people have less problem with Star-Lord dating a green woman named Gamora, right? Who's not even human, and he's half human, than if he were dating a black woman in a Lifetime movie. You know what I'm saying? And so these fantasy spaces, in a way, are, and historically have been, the only places in which those kinds of messages can go through and hit home unfettered, right? We're doing better. I mean, because we have black writers, we have black producers, we have black studios that are telling black stories and doing it very, very well, and breaking down all kinds of barriers. Sinners, sorry.
Thank you, Jordan Hill.
I started my fifth time last week.
Right, you know what I mean? And so I think that we are slowly being able to tell more accurate, more dynamic, more challenging stories that represent us in spaces that we weren't able to do before. Anime, manga, comic books. I mean, I just got finished binge watching a Black Wonder Man.
Yes.
Wonder Man was unquestioned.
Yes.
And it is an amazing show. Yaya just killed that role, as I knew he would. And the funny thing about it is that I haven't even seen anyone really online just talking about the fact that they race swapped Wonder Man. They're there. They're there. They're out there. But like, in Screen Rant and New Rock Stars and all the major, you're not really seeing like that being the thing out front, because it is so good.
Yes.
And you're talking about, from a comic book perspective, I don't want to get too nerdy, one of like the top 5 most powerful characters in the Marvel universe, right?
He is.
Thor, Hulk, this guy, knocked out the country. So let's, so to have a character with that much MCU potential be portrayed as black and be told in the story, and he's Haitian. They didn't just make him black, they made him Haitian. And then they went to his family to meet his Haitian family eating Haitian food. Like, and they weren't eating the dogs and the cats and the pets and all that stuff. Right?
Hilton?
Right, amazing, huh? Right? So we're making progress, but we're not there yet. And this is a two-way street. Again, we talk about support. We talk about what we want to see as a black community in movies and television and comics and books and all this stuff. And then we selectively support the stuff that is exactly what we asked for, right? And it's like, we've got to do a better job of getting behind the things that we say we want, because if a studio greenlights something based off of someone saying, well, look at all the black community really wants to get behind this stuff. You're talking about, 30 million black people that are just going to jump on this thing, and like, okay, and then they put it out there, and then we kind of fold our arms and just move on to the next thing. Well, that studio's not going to go greenlight the next black script that comes along. They're going to well, we tried, and now we're going to pull back, right? So we it's a two-way street. We have to find ways to support the things that we want in the genres and in the spaces that we want from black business and black community perspective. And we also have to hold studios and, the creative spaces accountable for those same things to generate that stuff.
Because I really like Cell on Netflix, but maybe because it took place in London, maybe.
Supercell?
Yes, that was so good.
Yes.
And I need a part 2, but are we going to get
It's
it?
supposed to be coming back.
Yeah, season 2 is coming out this year. Season 2 is coming out this year. Yes, it is. Yes,
See, this is what I'm talking about. I did not like Supercell. I can say that because it's 2 years out. When Supercell came out, for all the reasons you just said, the weekend it came out, I binge watched it on subscription Netflix to make sure the algorithm knew that I was watching that show and supporting it, right? And I shared all the posts about it. Even though I watched it, I was kind of like, wasn't that great? I'm like, but I want it to succeed. And so I'm going to tell you to watch it, and I'm going to make sure everybody else goes and watches it, because it might just be a taste thing for me. But I got a larger mission, right? And if I have a
It's-
platform that
'cause I do
anybody's
the same
listening
thing.
to,
Right.
I got a responsibility to be like, well, you know what? If it's not just complete booty, then go in and check it out. Yeah, go make sure you watch it, and watch it on opening weekend, because that's when
Right.
it counts.
It's funny you say that because, like, I remember when it came out, I loved it personally. But that year it came out at DragonCon, they had a panel about it, and the people on the panel knew very little about Black people, even Black Brits, right? Because it was on the Brit panel, I believe.
Yes.
I was in there, and I ended up talking to the people in the audience more than the panelists, and they were like, "Would you like to come back when part 2 comes out?" I was like, "Absolutely," because they were trying to figure out how to describe it, and they didn't know what to say, and I was like, "It's Heroes meets The Wire. Like, why are you struggling?" with it?
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
they couldn't. And then everybody was like, "Yeah!" I was like, "Yeah!" And there was a lot of Black faces out there and an all-white panel. The same thing that happened when they had a panel about Octavia Butler, and you had this white guy tell everybody in this room. He said specifically, "I haven't read her work, but how are you on this panel?" sir?"
Right. Right.
How can
Right.
they greenlight that?
Right.
Why did he even submit that panel?
And
Right.
then when people are asking, like, how would they get their
Right.
work recognized and everything, or get their work out, he goes, "Just keep working hard and it'll happen." And they were like, "Excuse me, but you just said you hadn't read Hugo Award-winning
Right.
Octavia Butler, but you telling us to just keep our head down and work hard." That's the lie they've been telling everybody in corporate America for 100 years.
Mhm.
Right? I'm sorry, Webster.
Go ahead, Joy. Go ahead, Joy. Yes, Joy. Yes. Yes.
No, I just wanted to touch on what Mark was talking about, and just what we're talking about media representation, and even more so talk about maybe the shift compared to how some of us grew up. You know, Mark brings up, you know, how science fiction in general has really done a better job of encapsulating King's dream to make it that way than many other mediums. And obviously, you can't think of anything but Deep Space Nine and Cisco and the sort of impact that Avery Brooks had on the Blackness of that show, because he is such a dynamic actor, and even, you know, before then. But I think now I saw a clip where Walter Emmanuel Jones, who was a BlerDCon last year, talking about how, you know, with Power Rangers, he was the first Black live action superhero on TV. And I think Manson's probably came out around the same time, if I remember correctly. But I'm thinking that's like, I was high school. That's all I had then. That's all we had then. We had very few representation, very little representation, and we always had to seek it out and find it. Fast forward to my 11-year-old daughter. She knows nothing but us. She doesn't grow up in a world where she doesn't see herself in things. And we had a conversation maybe a couple weeks ago, and I had the epiphany that, oh, you don't know what it's not like to see a Black face. You don't know what it's not like to see a Black superhero. I remember, like, her and her mom years ago, like, watching Raising Dion on Netflix, and her growing up and having all of these different types of, we watched The Amazing Hit Girl on Cartoon Network and some of the other shows. She has this plethora of influences of pieces of media where she sees various representations of herself. So she doesn't know a world where we don't exist. We're everywhere. And I think that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I know growing up, when I used to love Power Rangers, but every time I used to play Power Rangers at school, I always had to be the Black Ranger. And I was like, why can't I be pink? I want to
Right.
be pink. Why can't I be red? They're like, because you're Black. I'm like, I don't understand why. And after that, I was like, you know what? I hate Power Rangers.
That's
And I was the only Black girl at school.
it's a lot to unpack right there. We don't have time, but there's a lot to unpack with that. So this question in the chat: can you tell a Black story without the trauma?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Please give us examples of Black stories that we've had that didn't have trauma. I'll go first. Boomerang.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
And it was criticized for it.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Because it was
criticized because,
unrealistic.
They're like, right, this isn't a realistic portrayal
Right.
of Black
Black
life,
people don't just
because
have
there's nobody
jobs.
being discriminated against and owning businesses
What?
and being executives.
Being Black CEOs and everything. Being what?
Right. Owning a makeup company. What is that?
Right. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know it was controversial at the
It was.
because of that.
There's
It
a
was.
clip. There's a clip on YouTube, and it's Eddie Murphy being interviewed by Jay Leno, and he kind of makes that critique that like, hey,
Yeah.
you know, this is
They did not
like,
want to
you
make that
know, this
movie.
is not a real world because it's like all these black people, you know, and you're like, well, where else in the world would you find all black people than a makeup brand for black people? Like if there's anything out there that would be for us by us and nobody else could really do but us, makeup would definitely be it. It makes all the sense in the world. But at that point in time in history, like even Jay Leno, you know, was like he actually brought it up, and you know Eddie had to check him a little. So yeah, it was one of those things. So
And any other examples of black show, movie, TV series, etc., that didn't showcase trauma at some point?
well, you know, I was gonna say
Craig in the
Wonder
Creek.
Man because
Craig in the
Wonder
Creek.
Man had trauma, but it wasn't black trauma.
Right,
He had
right.
he had trauma,
Yeah.
but it wasn't specific to his blackness or his culture.
And I would say
But yes,
outside
Craig of the
of
Creek.
Craig and the Creek, Nope and Us had a lot of horror, but not necessarily black because it was black. It wasn't rooted in like oppression or slavery or anything like that. It was just
Yes.
Jordan Peele being wild.
Yes.
Well, Nope
Yes.
has the whole concept of Nope was behind the first black filmmaker who didn't get his recognition in Hollywood. So I wouldn't necessarily say that one doesn't come with the trauma because the whole concept of the movie is because the lack of recognition that the filmmaker got for making the horse jump and his innovation to Hollywood. So I will put a pin in that one.
That wasn't
Also,
trauma.
the cartoon Iyanu.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
Yes.
Season
Yeah.
2 is coming out pretty soon. Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
hmm
I mean,
And I saw a comment, the Magical Black Girl show that's on YouTube. I think episode 2 is coming out soon. I saw a sneak peek about it. But that's amazing. It's just not hand drawn, but it's like
Cell shade.
yeah, it's cell shaded and it's really nice. It's wonderful. I love it. Didn't think I would like it, but I love it, and I want to see more of that.
Yeah. Time wasters. I haven't seen it, but I heard it was good.
I have a question because this one's older and I don't remember all of it just because it's been a while. But the Cosby Show, I remember getting a lot of backlash because people didn't like the presentation of the family. Again, people said it was too unrealistic, and the family was kind of like upper class or upper class by like they were professionals and they were well put together, and somehow like I don't remember that having anything about trauma, but I remember that getting quite a bit of backlash for back then.
Yeah,
That
it got
was
backlash.
another
I mean,
example
Fresh
of how
Prince
you
and,
can't never.
what was it? Family Manners also got backlash too.
But Cosby Show in its early years is another example of how you can't never make black people happy because it
Yes.
was black folks saying that this is unrealistic. Black folks don't live like this. Blah blah blah. Yeah, yeah.
And-
They did the same thing to Blackish when it came out, and that's when I found out about the stuff with Cosby Show because I was like, "What do you mean black people don't live like this? I grew up like this. What are you saying?" Right?
Me too. I grew up like the
We
Cosby
didn't
Show.
have the Cosby Show, and somebody was
Yes,
like, "Well,
yes.
actually,
We even
Yeah.
have a term for it. It's called, "Oh, you were a Cosby kid." You know,
Ah.
you had both parents in the home and
Both
upper
professionals,
middle
yes.
class income, and two professional parents or a nice house with a yard and a dog, and you know weren't growing up in the streets or having like I said some trauma. You would say, "Oh, you were a Cosby kid." And that was kind of the nickname that you gave to people who were raised in that environment. So those people are real. And the issues around classism and class
Yes.
in America and inside the black community, it's again one of those internal conversations that we don't talk about in mixed company. The fact
That's
that,
true.
Look, I don't know which one of y'all are actually in Atlanta, but let me tell you something. If you ain't been in Atlanta, there are black people that will look right over the top of your head and be like, "Oh, you know, we're
Move,
together,
cousin.
but we're not. But we're not. You know,
Atlanta is
the
Wakanda.
classism can be as in your face as racism, and it can look and feel very much the same
Yes.
when it's coming from your own people.
Yes.
And when you have
Yes.
affluence and you have separation, you get this strata of us who feel like everyone below us didn't work hard enough, or it's because you didn't make the right choices, or whatever. And it's one of those things that kind of keeps us from coming together. So yeah, the classism piece of that Cosby Show dynamic is what I saw play out in the
Yes.
discourse, in between episodes when we were
Yes.
talking about it.
Yes.
So
All I have is Afro Samurai.
Oh well, yeah, I can't believe
Yeah.
you thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
anybody else
That
like
has nothing to do with trauma. I mean, it's his trauma, but that's like anybody
Right,
would
but
lose their dad type of trauma.
Yes.
yeah, like when we talk about a black story without the trauma, specifically, I think we're talking about slavery, Jim Crow, Lovecraft Country level like trauma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
Oppression porn.
Oppression porn, yes.
Oh, that's a good way of saying that.
Now,
Yes.
can I reverse
like that.
the theme for just a quick second
Sure.
to Mark's point? I have found that black writers and directors have found some really amazing storytelling tools in introducing black racial trauma into sci-fi and fantasy stories that did not originally have them. So I'm thinking mainly about the series Watchmen and the retcon around Hooded Justice just blew me completely out the water because this is a fairly undefined character in the comic who was given a story that involved racism. They included the bombing of Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the story, just like they did with Lovecraft Country, and but the Watchmen universe did not have this as a part of its DNA, and to have it put in so beautifully and so seamlessly, and to give weight to these characters that were just kind of off to the side, even though they were foundational in the comic and even in the Zack Snyder movie, was amazing. So even in stories that didn't have trauma, black trauma, we are finding ways to insert these things into storytelling in order to tell black stories. And what people would forget is that Tulsa was a myth to the majority of this country until Lovecraft Country and until Watchmen put it on the screen. Like there were people who were just like, then they went to Google and found out that it really happened. But
People
a lot
from
of folks thought it was a
Oklahoma.
conspiracy theory.
We forgot to say goodbye to RJ. She had to go. But yeah, people from Oklahoma that had never heard of the Tulsa Massacre.
Yeah, and the fact that that was introduced.
What
in
about
these
the Black
fantasy
Wall Street?
properties
Is that
just
a
makes
legend too?
Well, Black Wall Street in Tulsa, and then getting burned down by a white mob is the story. And they came out in the same year, by the way. The same calendar year was Watchmen and Lovecraft Country, where we got to watch on screen Tulsa, Oklahoma get burned to the ground and people murdered, and it had never been portrayed before. So to reverse that, we are, even in the insertion of black trauma, are finding ways to tell more and better interesting stories in sci-fi and fantasy.
Like even in Sinners, like the Klan is there. So it's an acknowledgement of the trauma that black people went through during that time, but they're not really central to the show. Other than the meme we all have now, y'all Klan, that's just how we roll now, because we are so unserious.
We could do a whole show on Sinners. We could do a whole.
We could, and we might. But I think I want to wrap up because we had to go to bed at some point. But I want to start wrapping up. What I also love about being a Blerd is how very unserious we are. We can be whole fools sometimes. Like the clip we just showed about where your wand at. Like that is comic gold to me, But also, I do believe that somebody asked online, one of my friends, X Resolution X on Threads, shout out to X. She was asking what was her question? I forget what the question was exactly, but my answer to it was, she said, what do you like the most about black art, since we're in Black History Month? I said, the thing I love about all black art, whether it's music, dance, movies, film, comedy, whatever, what I like about it is that we are able to share our pain, but hold on to our joy. And I think you see that in the way that we can be so unserious about the most dreadful of things, right? Making jokes about people when we lose someone, talking about what the funeral gonna be like. And again, this is black culture. Most outside black culture, you don't know what a funeral is. I'm not gonna tell you right now. Can't keep that. But, go ahead.
You have to come to the cookout, invite only.
Yeah, there are no more invites to the cookout. The best you can do now is get a plate after it's over. That's
I don't want to give you a plate.
No, there's no plates. No. No.
I
No,
feel like Tom. Well,
No.
no. I feel like Betty White can get a plate.
no.
No,
Mm-mm.
Betty White. Yeah, I mean, if she was alive, yes, she
Yeah.
could.
Pretty right.
She get. I be
Oh,
forgetting.
y'all
people's names.
hard. Y'all hard. That white woman had to die before y'all gave her a ticket to the cookout. Y'all
No, no, no. Betty
Was
White
she-
was
did
always
she
invited.
die?
Yeah.
Then she's well.
It's sad that I was trying to find an
bar
unproblematic
is
white
set-
person. I
is
had to
set
go
high.
to Betty White.
No, so to
Dolly
me,
Parton isn't
Dolly
problematic.
Parton is alive, and she can absolutely get some cornbread.
Mm-hmm.
just some cornbread.
Yes.
But no, Betty White earned her spot in that episode of Golden Girls, where what's the name, Rose came out to be a descendant of the Confederacy, and Betty White was like, no, that's not right. Ever since then, I was like, she can get a cookout plate. Betty
Don
White-
Cheadle was in that episode too.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was
Young
good.
Don,
Betty,
a young
Betty
Don
was like
Cheadle,
that
yes.
from the jump. Forget
Mhm.
Golden Girls. Like if you look at her
Yeah.
career, like going back to the 30s,
She
like,
wouldn't
has
perform if they
always
wouldn't let
been
her
Betty
black
White.
tongue
She
out.
didn't wake up
Mhm.
in the 70s. She has always been that person.
Yep.
And
Mhm.
you know, she got her flowers and her recognition.
Mm-hmm.
And
Betty
Matter
White.
of fact,
so yeah,
wasn't she the first like late night TV show host to actually have a black musician?
Yes,
on?
she was. Yes, she was. And I believe it was CBS. They were like, no, this has got to go. Yeah, and she was like, no, this is staying. Yeah, it was back in like I want to say the 50s, maybe.
It would have been,
I want
yeah.
to the 50s. Yeah, it was the 50s. Yeah, yeah, during McCarthyism and the Red Scare and all that. Yeah.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
somebody mentioned the Jeffersons in the chat too. The Jeffersons also was a good show that didn't really showcase black trauma at a time where it was coming off the heels of. I mean, it was a spinoff from Archie Bunker, but it was coming off the heels of Good Times, where
Mhm.
I swear them people couldn't catch a freaking break.
Yeah.
How you marry a football player and y'all still broke? I just want to know.
Yeah.
hey, but this
Yes.
is why James left the show because
Yes.
of that exact point. He's like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
every day we struggling. Like, can we win? Can we have an episode where we move forward? Can we get out the hood? Could something happen
Right.
good to this family? And they're
Y'all
like,
got all this talent to do
It was
these
like,
rent
nah.
parties. Bookman is singing and doing impressions and stuff, and ain't none of y'all thought to like open a club. I mean, what's really happening?
Mm.
Have
You
some,
know,
have some
He's not
entrepreneurship. So,
That's so actually interesting. I would love to do a show where we just talk about black television and cinema, and including a bunch of things. But I want to end the show talking about something that I wanted to talk about this whole episode. Robert Townsend is a media man, because I think that's where I center my nerddom around between Meteor Man and Power Rangers. I was a kid when the movie came out. I think it was 90, I want to say 93 or 96. Can't remember. But when it came out on VHS, I watched it every Saturday. Up at that point, never seen anything in my life that had an all-black cast that wasn't like specifically made for us or by us or whatever. And this was. But like so much talent was in that movie with Robert Townsend, James Earl Jones, Bill Cosby, so many past and future legends of just blackness. Meteor Man had such a phenomenal impact on my life. Not only was it like a black Superman, not only did he just not have electrical powers, but just the black star energy of every major role and minor role was filled by a black star that's like somewhere a phenomenal actor or actress. And still to this day, that's one of the few movies I wish would get like a remake with the original cast, those that are still living. Robert Townsend like went broke to make that movie. And I freaking love that movie. So I want to end the show with that. Let's talk about Meteor Man for 5 seconds.
I did like that movie, and I wanted to go blonde because of that movie. And my mom said no.
That's what the group Cosplay for DragonCon was. I wanted all of us to do. I wanted us to be the Golden Lords.
Yes,
Ooh,
the Golden
that'd be
Lords. Yes, the
fun.
Golden Lords. Yes. Yes.
I'm down.
Mhm.
Well, you can't talk about Meteor Man without talking about Robert Townsend, and
Yes.
who he was at that time was beyond a trailblazer.
Yeah.
Like, he was kicking down doors that people didn't even know were there. Like
Robert
you
Townsend
kick
and his
that door
partners.
down, like,
Mhm.
I mean, he started off like obviously as a comedian doing stand up, and then he was doing bit acting roles, and then he went into the director's chair and he made a movie called Hollywood Shuffle that was like specifically talking about Black Hollywood for the first time, like really pulling back that curtain. And it was really brazen, and it was really bold, and it was really direct. And it was my first time seeing, like, through a black lens what Hollywood was like behind the
Same.
scenes, because that had never happened before. And Meteor Man was kind of in that same vein. The community in Hollywood didn't have an outlet, right? There was no all black project to sign on to. That's why he was able to get literally everybody into that movie, because they're like, wait a minute, black writer, black script, black producer, black superhero. Like, where else do you get a script like that, get an opportunity to do it?
We
And
didn't
so
get that until
even
Black
though Meteor,
Panther.
well, yeah, but I mean, the thing is that you got this guy who's doing it grassroots, and there are all these people who never got an opportunity to be in a project like this, and let's be
Especially
honest, Meteor Man
community.
didn't do that well. I mean, it
No.
didn't make him millions and millions of dollars. He
It
kicked the
flopped.
door down. That he was the first one in, but sometimes the first one in the door doesn't get the benefit that the third or the fourth person coming behind him gets. And I think he's handled that very well, and he's still maintained, his position, and even like I say, young brother, 39, like you, who still looks at his art this way, I think is notable. So yeah, you can't talk about Meteor Man without knowing the man, Robert Townsend. Like he's actually one of my dream guests for BlerDCon. Like, if I could ever get him to come,
Please,
anybody
if
know
you
his cousin,
can.
somebody
Yes,
call him.
Hilton. Yes, yes.
Awesome.
I would love
Yes.
to get him, but he's not on the road like that.
But to your point, without Robert Townsend, if you remember who was in like Hollywood Shuffle, of a young Chris Rock was in it, but also a
Keenan
young
Wayans.
Keenan Ivory Wayans
Yes.
as Jerry Curl. And so at the same time that Robert Townsend was putting together this unprecedentedly black movie, he's putting people up on game. And so when I'm telling you, when people try to help you understand the business, listen, Keenan, listen, and that's how you get Living Color and all of the Scream franchises or whatever, and everything, not Scream, but Scary Movie franchises and everything else that Keenan has done or touched. And now you got, we'll be going to talk about Marlon because he lost his mind, but all the other ones that in the family that have come through. Granted, he got enough people in his family to hope to cast an entire movie.
Yes, you
But
did.
The Jacksons
but
and
it
the
also
Silvers.
leaves
You got
space
all of them.
for Jordan Peele. There's a line, there's a through line for that.
Yep. And you are just magnificently threading that needle, Joy. Look at you. Yep. It just didn't happen out of no. It just didn't pop up. It there's a through line through that. And thank you, Joy.
Absolutely. If you really want to get old with it, Barry Gordy and The Last Dragon.
Yes,
come on.
The Last Dragon.
Now,
Yes.
come on now.
Now was he a superhero? I mean,
No, but as much as because I do plan to talk about this at some point. Like we talk about K-pop and like Asian people or the demographics taking black stuff. We sure enough be snagging some kung fu. Like we eat that for breakfast on Sundays and stuff.
Look,
So
I used to watch Kung Fu
Oh,
Theater
sure.
Saturdays and growing up in New York in Harlem.
Yep. Same in Baltimore.
I'd be like,
If there were no Shaw Brothers, there would be no Wu-Tang.
Yep.
Yeah.
no Wu Tang. Yep, absolutely. Can we?
Yeah.
I was going to say something. What was that show? Was it Cobra Kai that did the thing about the Karate Kid that took a look at the Karate Kid?
Yeah.
I want a show like that for The Last Dragon because was Shonuff really the villain of was he really the villain? I say no. But
Early
now
Killmonger.
that's a discussion.
An
but
early
now
Killmonger archetype? Is that what we're talking
So
about?
let's save that. I think we do have another show here
Yeah.
around like putting a rundown on like black cinema and like milestone movies and whatnot. And so let's bring this crew
Timac
back.
is still alive,
for that
and he's
discussion.
still in shape, and he's still practicing martial arts.
Timac
So
look
that's not
good.
a
yes, he
crazy-
does. Urban Action Showcase. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, Demetrius.
But I think the actor that played Shonuff, I think he passed.
Yeah. We passed.
But we got Deion Cole. Deion Cole out
I
here
mean-
cosplaying and showing up looking just like him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
And that's one thing we didn't really touch on tonight was like cosplaying as a black person. We've done shows about that before. So I think, for all of you who are watching, this is why you need to subscribe to Moana Nui and to Blerdography, because we talked about being Black and being a cosplayer. Go find that show. But we will continue to have shows like this. We'll continue to bring you good content, but we are running up on time right here. So I want to turn the show back over to Marc and let you take us out.
We're fine with it.
Yeah, thank y'all for coming on, Hilton George. I cannot wait to see you in March. Before we go, can you go ahead and tell everybody when is BlerDCon? Where can they get their tickets? And what can they expect this year?
I got one.
Wow. Listen.
Got my tickets.
Me too.
This is going to be a crazy year. There's some amazing stuff happening. Y'all not even ready. You've seen the announcements. You know, we got Godfrey. We've got, Ribe and Reagan Aaliyah. We've got. I'm gonna drop something tomorrow that you're gonna see. It's gonna shut everything out. It's so big. I'm not even gonna say it here. As much as I love y'all. We are doing the biggest kickoff party we've ever done. It's going to be for the Thursday night. It's going to be at Lucky Strike. You do have to get your Bad Pass upgrade to get there. It will be worth it. I'm paying for free food. I'm paying for free bowling, so it's definitely worth it. The burlesque show on Saturday. The comedy show. We got Dulce Sloan performing live. All of that is part of the Bad Pass. We got a couple hundred left, but they're moving real fast. You make sure you want to get them because we're not selling tickets at the door. Fire code capacity is the ticket, so get them. We are going to be, again, in 2 hotels, the Hilton Arlington National Landing and the Hyatt Regency. We also have the food truck rally coming back. This is the largest attached food truck rally of any convention of any kind anywhere in the country. We weren't going for that. It just happened. 27 curated food trucks, most of them Black-owned. Find me a Black-owned ramen truck. I will talk to you. But we just don't have that right now, so we're getting in there. We're March 6th through 8th. We're right here in Arlington, Virginia. If you're not from the area, it's D.C. Just come on here. You fly right into Reagan National. This will be our year 9 coming up. We're really excited about that. And it's coming together nicely. It's stressing me the heck out because a lot of stuff is happening. But I'm telling you, it's going to be a really, really, really good time. And it's going to be a lot of surprises coming out. There's a lot of unexpected things are going to happen. I promise.
I got an annoying question for you. I'm sorry to ask this, but I'm about to ask you. If you have a press pass, how do you get upgraded to the Bad Pass?
Just buy
Same
it. If you
question.
have a pass of any kind, you just go buy the Bad Pass, and there'll be a sticker. It's a reflective 3D sticker we will put on your badge. So if you already have one as press, if you already have one as a vendor, if you already have one as panelist, or if you got one comped, or if you won one, doesn't matter how you got your badge, you can purchase the upgrade. As long as you have a badge to put the upgrade on, you're good to go.
Thank you.
Perfect. And what is this year's theme? Because you do these amazing themes every year. This year you do some
Listen,
specifically
every time we do a
Atlantis.
theme,
So I got to rep it.
the theme this year is Geeknik, which is reminiscent of Freaknik, and for which there will be certain thematic additions to the convention that you will, those who know, will see and go, oh. And,
It's about to be the blackest convention ever.
It's gonna be a problem. I'm really excited because it's gonna be a happy problem. I'm telling you, it's because the people who know, right? You know, there's people who are like 22 and out, and they're like, "Oh, Geeknik, that sounds cool." But then
I was in Atlanta.
up, they're like, "What? What?" You know. So,
No.
yes. Listen, Carl Jones is gonna be there, and if you know Carl Jones, he has a movie musical called Freaknik. And there's going to be a subject of discussion. There will be a chance to see it. We're going to be doing a lot of screenings of his properties for people who listen. There's a lot of folks under 30 who never watched, in real time, the Boondocks. They've seen the clips and they've seen the memes, but they've never watched it. And we're going to make sure those folks get up to speed. We're going to be teaching people how to play spades. We're going to be doing all of that stuff that we were talking about here. And I'm really excited about it. And as you can tell, this is going to be a really big year. I think it's going to be a transformative year. This is a year that we are more necessary. Black spaces and safe spaces in this environment are more precious. They're more valuable. And it's not just BlerDCon. It really is all of these spaces that we gather that are for us, for our spirit. We have to protect them. We have to support them. We have to make sure that they succeed. I don't care how small the con is, if it's your local library, buy a ticket, support, because these things don't live in a vacuum, and they are trying to take that away from us, right? And I say this all the time, but it's true. A lot of times, we all we got. We all we got, and that means we got to get each other, and that support has to spread out, and we have to make sure this is not the year to sit it out. This is not the year to take a break. This is the year to support, and that's how we're going to survive all of this. That's how we're going to come out on the other end. I promise you.
Yes, I will definitely be there with bells and whistles on. So I cannot wait.
I'll whistle for the bells. I'll listen. I'll hear you coming.
That was a great way to wrap up the show. So I just go around the horn with everybody else. Where can people find you online? We'll start with the Supreme Attorney.
You can find me on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, the Supreme Attorney on all platforms. If you want to hire me, just go to my website or call me. And I do criminal immigration. If you get into a car accident, let's get it back together. It's going to be an expensive year for me. Thank you.
And Webster?
Webster Style Man with Fragrance. You can find me primarily WebsterStyleMagazine.com, WebsterStyle.com, and I'm Webster Style pretty much everywhere on the internet.
Okay. Dana?
You can find me primarily on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. Facebook is my name. Instagram and Threads is NYC Playboy. And I will be at BlerDCon because BlerDCon for me is a local con. Yes.
Same here. I'll be there.
Okay. Hilton?
Blerdcon.org. And BlerDCon, you type that into any search engine on any social media platform. You'll get our group on Facebook. You'll get our page on Facebook. You'll get our account on Threads, on Instagram. We're not on that other one, Blue Sky. So you can't miss us. And like I said, blerdcon.org is where you get your tickets. If you watch our social media, if you subscribe to our social media, you will not miss an announcement when it comes out, so you're not surprised or blindsided. And we're right here in the DMV, DC, Virginia, and we're looking forward to seeing you all.
All right. And as again, I'm co-host Joy Stevens. Joyride08 is my handle on Threads and Instagram, so you can find me. And physically, you can find me in the A at any given time. But I will be in DC for Blerd. This is my first time coming to BlerDCon, so I'm excited. Repping for.
I'm gonna.
No pressure.
I'm gonna take you to some of the best food spots, Joy.
Word.
I trust
like
you. Yes, because
Do
that's
that.
my other
Eat
thing
line.
is food. Yes, I would.
I'm
I'm making a schedule right now.
Check
I'm
his
making it
IG
right there.
feed.
I'm going to piggyback.
Nice. One of my favorite K-pop artists, his band took him out to some soul food place, and he didn't know what it meant, but he was like, "I'm gonna sleep well tonight." I was like, "Yeah, you are." You don't even know what you just said, little boy. But I'm looking forward to being catered to and being fed when I'm there. And if you're looking, but again, I'm a host of Blerdography. I'm a host of the Moana Nui podcast, multiple shows. Subscribe to both channels, and you get more content like this. We do this for the love of the community. So please support, like we've been talking about all night. And Marc, turn it over to you.
Yes, thank y'all so much. This has been a wonderful episode. Obviously, we're going to do a Blerd Culture Explained Part 2. That goes without saying. But please, if you haven't, become a channel member on Blerdography and help support the shorts. I am trying to raise money for my journey to BlerDCon 2026 because there's a Hoochie Daddy dancing contest that someone told me I need to be a part of. So I'm going to do that. They not talking about you. Not talking about you, but I'll also be at BlerDCon. Black Geeks of Insert Con here will be doing something. Still don't know when or where, but we're going to figure that part out. But next week is a members only show. So if you are not a member by now, please sign up so you can be part of next week's member only. But until then, see y'all next week and peace.
Yeah. Love it how you move it, how you wind it up. We can jump into it, we can line it up. We can stay slow with you, me. We can stay slow with you, me. Yeah. Need somebody tonight, doing that dance, digging that dance. I know. Need somebody tonight.